Okay, I have a hypothetical question for you today, and I want an honest answer. For $5,000 cash in hand right now, would you body slam your own grandmother?
I, um, excuse me, no. Absolutely not. Why are we even started with that? That is a horrific image.
It is horrific. It's violent, it's absurd, and it's completely unhinged, and yet that is literally the opening gambit of the source material we are forced to wade into today.
Don't remind me.
Yeah, I know. Look, we are looking at a transcript from the Dave25 podcast recorded on February 15, 2026. And I have to say, just calling this a podcast feels like we're giving it way too much dignity.
Diggity is a word that completely left the building long before the record button was hit on this one. Honestly, reading through this transcript felt less like analyzing media and more like, I don't know, performing an autopsy on a very sick, very angry corner of the internet. I hate reading this stuff.
It's exhausting. It really is this distinct ecosystem. We are entering a hyper-toxic, incredibly insular world of streamer drama today. So for you listening, imagine a digital room where adult people in their 40s and 50s are engaging in feuds that would make middle schoolers blush.
Right, and the stakes are just incredibly low. We're talking about arguments over who lives in a garage or who smells like what, but the emotions are cranked up to a 10.
It's an ecosystem of chaos. That's the only way to frame it. You have adults engaging in high-stakes harassment, doxing, and threats all over grievances that are frankly pathetic. It is, to quote the source material itself, literally human bullshit. And we have to sift through it.
I mean, I don't know why we do this to ourselves, but yes, we do.
Yeah.
Let's just introduce the players before we get completely lost in the noise.
Yeah.
At the center, we have the host, Dave25. He also refers to himself as Milton John in this weird bit involving a time machine, but let's just stick with Dave for sanity's sake.
Yeah. Dave is the ringmaster here. He views himself as a shock jock, a truth teller, and as we'll see later, the victim of this massive conspiracy to keep him from being famous. He's the sun that all this other toxic debris just orbits around.
And circling him is this rotating cast of antagonists. We have Noodles, also known as David Bulldog, who is Dave's primary target. Then we have Stephanie, sometimes referred to as Nick Abbott, who is this chaotic co-host figure with some very dark theories.
Yeah, dark is an understatement. And then we have the caller, Nicolina, who brings a level of volatility that actually stopped me in my tracks while I was reading.
Look, our mission today, if you even want to call it that, is to untangle this web for you. We need to look at the specific petty grievances, the accusations of stalking, and the delusional self-aggrandizement to understand the psychology of this space. Why do they do this? Why do they wake up and choose violence every single day?
Let's just jump straight into the first major conflict in the transcript, the Noodles obsession.
Oh, God, it is an obsession. Dave25 spends a massive chunk of this broadcast just attacking this guy Noodles. And the grievances they're incredibly specific.
Nasty.
Extremely specific. Dave paints Noodles as a, quote, sick man. He claims Noodles is obsessed with him and has a picture of Dave on his fridge, which is this recurring weird accusation, and he says Noodles lives in a garage or a car. The living situation mockery is a constant theme here. Poverty is completely weaponized in this community. If you aren't broadcasting from a shiny studio, you're, quote, below homeless. But what stood out to me and what I found particularly grating to read was the attack on Noodles' intelligence, specifically the dyslexia accusation.
Oh, this was wild. Dave claims Noodles is faking dyslexia, but his logic for why Noodles is faking it is just, you have to walk us through it.
It's bizarre. Dave says, and I quote, "I had dyslexia as a kid, but I unlearned my dyslexia."
Like it's a bad tennis swing or something.
Exactly. He claims he simply started writing forward instead of backward and just outgrew it, which, medically speaking, is just not how dyslexia works at all. But because Dave believes he cured himself, he absolutely refuses to believe Noodles can be dyslexic.
And his proof is even better. He says, how can you be dyslexic if you can wire computers?
Right, you can wire a motherboard, therefore your brain processes language perfectly. It's a classic logical fallacy born of total ignorance, but it really reveals Dave's rigid worldview. If something doesn't fit his specific anecdotal experience, it just must be a lie.
He mocks Noodles for supposedly reading backwards or having letters disappear. It's ableist, it's cruel, but it serves a function for him. It paints Noodles as a fraud.
And if he lies about his brain, he lies about everything, including the sugar cookie incident. I was dreading this part. Do we really have to?
We have to. It's in the source material we promised a deep dive. Dave accuses Noodles of making a comment about a female streamer named Wingstar.
Right. He alleges that Noodles wished her, and I apologizing to everyone listening for having to say this out loud, he wished her, quote, butt crack smelled like sugar cookies.
It's gross. It's weird.
It's deeply weird. But in Dave's world, this is treated like a literal war crime. He uses this sugar cookie comment to paint Noodles not just as a troll, but as a sexual deviant, a sick man. And it's used to justify the harassment.
Because Dave claims Noodles has contacted his ex-fiancées and has been stalking him for years,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, there's this constant refrain of "he's obsessed with me." Dave claims Noodles instigated everything, that Noodles is the one with the picture on the fridge.
It's pure projection. We see this a lot in these insular communities. Everyone accuses everyone else of stalking, yet they are all religiously watching each other's content, commenting on each other's lives, and obsessing over every detail.
They're locked in a mutual orbit. Dave needs Noodles to be the sick man, so Dave can be the sane one.
Which is a bold claim for Dave to make, considering the company he keeps. Let's move to segment 2. The paranoid world of Stephanie or Nick Abbott. This is where the transcript took a turn from petty drama to a dark psychological thriller.
Absolutely. Stephanie introduces a concept that I'm calling the high vibration death theory.
It sounds like a bad sci-fi plot, but she's deadly serious. Stephanie claims that she is a high vibration person. And her theory is that when low vibration enemies fail to meet up with her or cross her, they tend to die.
It's magical thinking weaponized. She lists actual deceased streamers people named Gene Mongo Gillen, Jamie Nicole, and someone called Music Biz Marty as proof. She frames their deaths not as tragedies, but as cosmic receipts.
It's chilling. She talks about a guy named Jimongo who wanted to interview her about meeting the devil, and then he died. She talks about Jamie Nicole dying less than 24 hours after they, quote, made up on a panel.
She sees herself as a catalyst for divine punishment. It's a defense mechanism, really. This is the community where substance abuse and mental health issues seem rampant. The source mentions active alcoholism and people ODing. But Stephanie reframes these deaths as spiritual victories. If you cross her home, the universe takes you out.
And then there's the paranoia. We have to talk about Sneer Levi.
The, quote, Israeli intelligence agent.
Yes, Stephanie is completely convinced that this character, Sneer Levi, is an Israeli intelligence agent and a hypnotherapist who contacted her mother and is supposedly preying on minors.
It's textbook conspiracy ideation. She claims Levi's website is a dossier for an agent.
Yeah.
She feels replaced by him. And we need to point out this ties into a broader political and somewhat anti-Semitic thread running through the source. There are mentions of secular Jews and Israeli intelligence.
Right, and we aren't endorsing any of this, obviously. We're just reporting what's in the transcript. It's paranoia looking for a target. She believes she is being gang-stalked by international spies.
And when the targets aren't imaginary agents, they go after real people who are just trying to live their lives. There's a streamer named Tasha Teeling who gets absolutely roasted.
This was interesting because it reveals their warped morality. They attack Tasha for being a, quote, nuisance nomad. The grievance isn't that she's homeless, it's that they believe she has a trust fund and money coming in and chooses to live in a van with dirty dogs rather than renting an apartment.
They hate her because she has a choice. Dave and Stephanie are struggling. Dave mentions being poor and eating weed. Stephanie mentions being homeless in Compton in the past. So when they see someone who could have a normal life but chooses the gutter, it offends them.
They also use a slur here that I hadn't heard before, hobosexual.
Right. They use this to describe a streamer named Molasses Cookies.
Huh.
A hobosexual in their vocabulary is someone who sleeps with men solely for a place to live due to homelessness. It's a derogatory term for survival sex work. They mock her for crying on Rumble. The hate is palpable. Dave actually suggests someone should make Molasses below homeless.
Below homeless. That is a terrifying concept. It's not enough to be down and out. They want these people completely destroyed.
It speaks to the hierarchy of misery. They desperately need someone to be lower than them on the totem pole. If Molasses is below homeless, then Dave is doing okay.
Which brings us to the moment where the hierarchy completely collapses into total chaos. Segment 3, the call-in climax.
The Nicolina call.
Right.
This is the most volatile part of the transcript. I actually felt my blood pressure go up reading this section.
So Nicolina, also known as 777, calls in. And immediately the tone shifts from catty gossip to direct violent threats.
It turns into a geographical standoff. Nicolina claims she's tracking Dave. She insists he's in Sugar Land, Texas. Dave insists he's in Riverside, California. They're trying to dox each other in real time to prove dominance.
She says, "I've been tracking you, Melton." She sounds like a villain in a bad movie. She claims to have guns in every room of her house and cameras everywhere.
And Dave completely matches that energy. He threatens to find her first and end her life if she comes for him. It's this escalation where digital posturing meets real-world consequences. I have guns, you have guns, let's see who dies first. It's insane.
But then when the physical threats plateau, it takes a turn right back into the supernatural again. The hex?
The hex, it's so absurd. When Nicolina realizes she can't actually reach through the phone and hurt him, she resorts to hexing Dave. She claims she's a spiritual energy he shouldn't mess with, calling down a hex mountain on him and his friends.
She says you are dead meat now spiritually if I don't get you physically. It's just desperate.
It is desperate. It's an admission of powerlessness. I can't punch you, so I'll curse you. But then, just as we're laughing at the wizardry, reality crashes back in.
The FBI van.
Right. In the middle of this screaming match, Dave suddenly claims an FBI van, or the police have pulled up to his location.
That was wild. He says, oh shit, an FBI person showed up right here. A van just pulled up right behind me. He accuses Nicolina of swatting him, calling the cops on him.
And Nicolina denies it, calling him a liar. Now, we don't know if the police were actually there. Dave's is a performer. He could have been faking it to make Nicolina look dangerous to his audience. But the fact that the FBI is here is a plausible plot twist for them, tells you everything.
Swatting is lethal. These people are playing with life and death while arguing about hexes and sugar cookies. It really makes you wonder why they do it. Why stay in this ecosystem of chaos?
Which leads us to our final segment, the broader toxic ecosystem. To understand why Dave stays, you have to look at his self-perception. He doesn't see himself as a guy shouting into a microphone in a garage. He sees himself as the successor to Howard Stern.
He literally believes Howard Stern watches his YouTube channel.
He does. He claims Stern steals his ideas, specifically regarding the Jeffrey Epstein files. Dave says, I think Howard Stern might watch my YouTube channel. He started talking about Jeffrey Epstein after listening to our show.
That is a massive delusion. Howard Stern, the king of all media, stealing bits from Dave25.
It's delusional, yes. But it's essential for Dave's ego. He believes he should be signed to SiriusXM. He talks about sending emails to Sirius, trying to get a contract. He believes he's being held back not by a lack of talent or his toxic behavior, but by an elitist agenda.
He calls it reverse racism.
Of course he does. It's the refuge of the mediocre. Again, impartially reporting here, Dave claims he was demonetized on YouTube for being white and Italian. He points to black creators or other streamers who use vulgarity and are still monetized, and he cries foul. He says, I should be a multimillionaire. I've been taken out on the sole fact that I'm white.
It's the ultimate victim card. It's not that he's threatening to kill people on air or doxing them. It's a conspiracy against Italians.
And it feeds his resentment of other streamers. He mentions Miss Savage making $7,000 or Tina D getting simp donations. He calls it monetization envy. He feels entitled to that money. He sees them as talentless hacks who are gaming the system while he, the true talent, is suppressed.
And yet, despite the suppression, despite the stalkers, despite the FBI vans, he keeps doing it. They all do. Moving platforms from YouTube to Rumble just to keep the fight going.
That's the cycle of hate. They hate the people they talk about, like Noodles, Nicolina, Natasha, yet they consume their content religiously.
Oh.
Dave admits to watching them. They invite them onto panels. They obsess over their hygiene, their sexual history, their living situations for hours.
It's like they're addicted to the conflict.
They are. It's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
Without the conflict, without the enemy who is Dave25, who is Stephanie. They define themselves in opposition to these antagonists. If Noodles disappeared tomorrow, Dave would lose his primary source of content. He'd just be a guy in a room talking to himself.
That is incredibly depressing.
It is. It's a closed loop of misery. It's a digital sewer system where everything just flows in a circle.
So let's wrap this up for you listening. We've looked at the dizzying amount of vitriol here, the granny suplex hypotheticals, the accusations of unlearned dyslexia, the paranormal death theories, and the absolute lack of self-awareness regarding their own behavior.
We've seen a group of people who are, by their own admission, struggling financially, mentally, socially, and instead of lifting each other up, they are engaged in a constant battle to push each other down, claiming to be high vibration while spewing pure hate.
It's the ultimate crabs in a bucket mentality.
Precisely. If one of them tries to crawl out like Tasha, choosing to be a nomad, or someone getting a bit of monetization, the others claw them back down. They weaponize the police. They weaponize hexes. They weaponize humiliating rumors about hygiene.
And my final provocative thought for you to mull over is this. Does the architecture of these live streaming platforms actually incentivize this kind of spiraling mutual destruction?
That's the real question. Does the algorithm reward this because it keeps people watching? Is the platform the Colosseum architect here? Or would these specific personalities find a way to torment each other, even without an audience?
If a tree falls in the woods and nobody live streams it, do Dave and Nicolina still scream at each other?
I have a sinking feeling they do. And they probably claim the tree was an FBI agent sent by a hypnotherapist.
On that note, thanks for taking this deep dive into the abyss with us. I feel like I need a shower.
I need a lobotomy. See you next time.